Okay, question. Milkweed can't be planted here, or shouldn't be planted here, because after the females have gotten their jollies, which is why they're here all year. So after they've mated, they smell or somehow sense that the milkweed is being in bloom out east against the mountains, and that starts them on their migration, and they actually end up around Fresno and other places. And what happens is they lay their eggs there, and then when the babies are born, or baby monarchs, little monarchs, they're swept up in the thermals, and they start their migration back to Canada. So we don't want milkweed here. The milkweed, that drives them into the mountains is what they're looking for. And this is the only place we don't want milkweed. Now milkweed is toxic to like cattle and things like that eat it. So there's an endless battle between the cattle people and farmers and this and that. But milkweed is the only thing that they lay their eggs on. That's the only plant. And there's a lot of issues about different types of milkweed, and I would strongly suggest that you folks read about it. I'm not an expert on it at all. But the movement to plant milkweed across America, whether it's here in California or the East Coast, is probably the single most important thing that most people can do. We can't do it, but that's the single most important thing I think that any citizen could do, is to find out what is the right type of milkweed, because I don't know, but you need to find out, and when to plant it, because that's the only thing these people can, this is the only plant they can lay their eggs on. Here what we want to do is get flowers that bloom from October through April. Nice trick, huh? So, I'm really excited to see what will happen with the native plants, but that'll take years. Right now we're working off a Mexican daisy, some bovilas, some they love the bottle brush, and these things, and in the lower garden we've spent the last 9 years with Francis Great growing those plants and nurturing them because they bloom this time of year, so, and she's our master gardener, and unfortunately she couldn't be here today. But this whole sanctuary is just really skilled and loving people like Francis, who, I was instrumental with putting the gardens together. Big deal, I can't garden. She got in there, and there's a plant that used to be a stick that's now that big bulbous. So, we've had a good run of people here, and we're still running. So, does it look like we're ready? Okay, let's hand out the prayers. And,
We're just gonna hand them out, Bob.
Okay,
So they can get an idea.
there you go. There you go. So I got a good estimate story. We'll finish with that. So 1 year after we had blessed.
You run out of buddy.
So Louise's been doing this now for us for 9 years. And
You guys put that down. It wasn't 2010, 2008.
I believe that.
Busy as it is now, but
Well, the best year, I thought, even though they were all good, was after she had done the blessing. A couple months later, she showed up and she was running around saging the different corners of the sanctuary. And I was up here watering trees, and I said, "Hey, Louise, what's going on?" She goes, I had this dream about this black people, black spirits or something evil coming towards the sanctuary. And you know what? 2 days later, they had this plan to chop all these trees around in the surrounding neighborhood. And we had to jump all over it. I mean, anyway, you about ready there? Who Luis Ramirez? Tribal person? Ocean? Monarch spiritual leader. I believe she's going to pass the stage around. She's just going to stage the area before we start. Please, there's actually 3 seats here. That's amazing. I'd like to sit down. There are like 2 or 3 seats there. Joe, you're already sitting there.
Thank you. Do you want to sit down or not? Thank you.
All of you got nice and comfortable. We're going to ask you to get up and help with everyone to make a circle so we can say the prayer. Everybody. So in looking at the prayer, what you will notice is I've broken it down by syllables. And that's so that you may have a little bit easier time saying the word. Started working on the language in 2006 through the University of Berkeley. They had a program for California Indians that without speakers. And so working with the linguist and finding all the notes that we could find from Dr. Ruth, from Harrington, Kroger, anyone who had recorded history from our ancestors. And so then we start putting them together and translating all of our prayers, all of our stories back into Esselen. So there are many languages within this tribal area. There are the languages that a lot of people will say is Rumsen. Rumsen is, people think that they are Rumsen, but Rumsen was mentioned 6 times throughout history as the name of the language. And so our people, when they went into Carmel Mission, they would also be speaking what they called Carmeleno. And it was a mixture of the Spanish and the native languages. So when I say they went in, they didn't go in peacefully. They were drugged in and beaten and accounted as slaves. So that's what the missions, when we talk about the missions, we talk about them as being our prisons, not a home for us. So I'm going to pass the stage around, and please feel free to bless yourself and just make sure everybody does that. So we're going to start clockwise, counterclockwise. Everybody goes clockwise if you've noticed, but that's most native people. And we in California go counterclockwise because somebody has to keep the balance in the earth. And that's what California Indians do. So that's what goes around. So when you're taking it, you don't have to do it, but what you do is you bring the smoke, cup it into your hand, bring the smoke to your head so that you can feel good, hear good things into your ears, into your eyes so you can see good, into your mouth so that you can speak good words to everyone, into your heart so you can be a good person, into your body so you can have a healthy body, into your feet so you can walk a good path. So you'll find a lot of different ways with different people, but that's what we try to do to make sure that you know what you're doing. And we So we believe that the smoke lifts our prayer higher to the Creator. And so that's why you'll see the smoke, okay? That's the much license. So, just so that you know, that our legal name is Ohlone Coast-a-no Aslan Nation. We are the indigenous people. We're throughout Monterey County. We'd be called in this area the Coast-a-noans. But that's the name the Spanish gave us, so we don't really use it a lot. Legally, we have no choice, but in the Esalen come from within the Gavilans and a little bit south as well in Soledad. So we're talking about Monterey County when we talk who we are. We do not have a land base. In 1850, 18 treaties were written and taken to Congress, and Congress hid them at the request of the California governor. So those treaties were never ratified. 50 years later, those treaties were found by a clerk, and it brought them back to Congress, and Congress sent out Agent C.E. Kelsey to identify the landless Indians of California. When he came into this area, they said there were no more Indians. So when he went into Carmel, the priest told him there was a group out towards the Sur Rancheria, which was 2 leagues, which 2 leagues is about 6 miles outside of Carmel Mission, would probably be around Point Noble or a little bit farther around that area. So they said there's the last that they knew of the tribe that was there at the Sur Rancheria. When C.E. Kelsey went there, he met my great-grandfather. My great-grandmother. So my great-grandfather is Thomas Santos Miranda. My great-grandmother was Maria Inez Agnes Garcia. 2 separate lineage of Native people who belonged to this area. And then he met my grandfather, who was a young man at that time, and a great aunt. And was called back to Congress on emergency and never recorded any more names. So, but he put a little 50, that there was 50 plus our family there. And so that was identified as the Esalen people of Monterey County, the Monterey Band. And so that's how we know that that's where we started from, and farther back we have all of our ancestors. We have 13 core families, and all of them can prove genealogy to the original notes at Carmel Mission and Soledad as being brought into the mission. Okay, so in going back and with the language, we wanted to make sure that we found what would be the original language. Gary Bashini, before he passed away, wrote notes that he believed that the Esalen language was spoken throughout Monterey County. And then it was combined with the Coast-a-noan as more people started traveling and coming in. We have stories of being with the huc-hup people in the valley towards Fresno and all of that, that they came over a lot. Because one thing is, we had food. You know, we had the ocean, we had a lot of mule deer, the elk deer, and so there was a survival. And I know I'm speaking, but I'm trying to make sure that everybody gets smudged before we start a prayer. So our histories are recorded. There are a lot of different people here. Some don't belong to the tribe. We currently have about 700 members, and you'll find there's always the split, right? It's always political. So I want you to understand that, because if you hear other people saying different things, you know what? there's always a split, there's always problems. We've stood strong and not want to vote towards casino or anything, and other people do want. So there's a lot of different things. We've been approached by many people, but that's the first thing they always want, financial supporters. They always want to bring a casino in here. And so there's a lot of history to the land. When we've been working with the Army, we've been working here. When we first came here, I met Helen at an event with Robert Mirabal. He's a singer, and they brought him into CSUMB. And so she was 89 at that time, and she was just in love with him. And so that's when we started talking about the Monarch Sanctuary. And I don't know how many of you live here, but for you to know that Pacific Grove is probably one of the most sacred areas and burial area of our people. Our people have been destroyed, moved. Our hope is for one day to have a place where we can put them all together. This happens along the coast a lot. We just had one that was disturbed in Carmel, and the owner refused to let us on the property. He refused to give us a place to rebury the ancestor. So the archaeologists took him out and brought him to us. So we don't have a place to rebury because Carmel is an unincorporated area, and the county is not going to give us a place either to rebury. And that's where you guys come in. Those of you who live here or elsewhere, write about the indigenous people of your area. Throughout the Central Coast, none of our people are federally recognized. The government refuses to recognize us because of the area, because of the richness of the people in this area. They fight us. They don't want us to be acknowledged. And we need that assistance to be told. These are our indigenous people. We know they lived here. We can prove it. I've told anytime, any politician, anybody, you want to know who we are? We will come. We will show you. And I've done that with the Army. We've met with the Pentagon. We've met with other tribes as well. And we've had to prove who we are. Native Americans are the only people who have to prove their ethnicity. Okay, so we've done that, and we hope that you will support us whenever possible. You know, tell the city councils, tell whoever, stand up for the indigenous people. Are we done there? Everybody sage?
It's all coming around. Over there. So can we ask a question?
Sure.
If we wanted to help you be recognized and we're contacting government officials, what would be the wording you would recommend that we say?
Just about what you said.
Okay.
You know, you go in there and you say, we want to acknowledge the indigenous people. We want you to support. I met with the planning department in Pacific Grove, and I said, you know, we go through these events, we go through these meetings, you know who we are. But no one city has acknowledged any tribe as the people of their area. Okay? Not within Monterey County. Okay? And so we are always saying, this is who we are. You know who we are, and if you don't, let us tell you who we are, let us show who we are. Acknowledge us. We need the support of the people, we need the support of the governments, the city governments, the state governments, the federal governments. to know who we are in order for recognition to move forward. So in our language is, back to that, is an isolate language. So there's no other language on the coast or within the area that can match up to ours. It's part of the Hokkien language. The linguist that we work with is David Shaw, and he's like 8 language specialist, so he's really good at it. And for those of you later on, if you want, we have some samples here of different stories of the butterfly. And I know we were supposed to have teachers here, and children, so we have brought a butterfly story that we'll read after we do the prayer.
I have a question about in Carmel, Robinson Jeffers, the Tor House. He wrote poetry about the Indians that lived there on that Tor House site. Do you know much about the ancestor lineage in that place?
Well, the tribal members can prove their lineage to that area. Okay, so that's one of the things that we have done within Carmel. I don't have the map here, but in my lineage, there's like 20 tribal areas within Monterey County. My lineage, the ancestors come from 15 of it. So that's already been proven. We know who's from what. Some people have 3. Some people have, I think we're the most this family. So it's through Carmel, through Soledad, the different villages. And we try to keep that online. I have business cards here if you want to pick up a business card. Then it's on the reverses, the ancestral villages that my lineage has been proven to. And so we have about, in just in my lineage, about 125 tribal members. There's butterfly stories here. There's butterfly stories from different tribes. There's also a postcard of an event happening in San Jose that we'll be part of on November 16th for Native American Month. So what I will do is I will say the word, and then you can repeat it after me, because it's always our belief that we need to pray together. Okay, so the more people praying, the better we are. We're all on. And so the first word is Las.
Las.
Ot-no A-yam. Las Metx. Las Ew-shai. Las Ew-shai. Salewa. Iu. Ma-sxa-pa. ALPA. Neku. Las Ot-no A-yam. To-xes-a. Nem-u-lam. Aniki. Ma-sxa-pa. Ti-hac. Neku. Las Ew-shai. Tahawi. Neku. Ma-sxa-pa. a-hik. la-wis. ne-ne-mus. la-ka-hu-lin. a-hik. Neku. la-wis. i-sxe-no. la-ka. Selekan, cha-a, la-ka-hu-lin, pami, aniki, iwanamatsa, hatan, let, efehe, let, ALPA, MANU, NAMOESPA, pek-tin, ma-sxa-pa, la-ka, ma-si-a-nex, to-xes-a, i-sxe-no, ka-a, la-ka, am-hen-ni, hama, let, ALPA, let, ti-hac, ne-ku, Las Ot-no A-yam, pami, tahawi, la-ka-hu-hup, lech-i, pek-tin, ti-hac, efehe. And when we're in agreement with what was said, we say huc-hup. That's what it means. I'm in agreement. Okay, so, and then we usually end our prayers with a yeah. So in English, what you just said was, Honorable Creator. You guys know English, right? Honorable Creator. Honorable Grandfather. Honorable grandmothers, honorable ancestors, we good way come. Today we ask the Honorable Creator to give life back to this land. We ask the honorable ancestors to protect the earth that they walk and live. We ask that the trees, flowers and butterflies, live and return to this homeland of our people. We pray for healing of earth and hearts. We give mugwort, sage, tobacco, beads with our prayers. We ask the Honorable Creator to protect and bring us together as family. We ask the Honorable Creator to protect and bring us together as family. Please, elders, those of you who need a seat, please sit down. So we just want to move a little bit. I don't have enough, but if you notice, this year I'm not wearing my regalia. So we wear a regalia during our ceremonies. This year is pretty hard. My mom died in November, and my sister died at the end of August. And so in our custom, we cut our hair. In our custom, we don't wear our regalia, and we just maintain it still, but not in our traditional regalia. And we've had many elders of our tribe die this year, and we've had one of our best friends pass away too. And so the home tribe is in a lot of mourning. So there's some chairs, elders, you want to sit down, and I want to read you a butterfly story, because we were so used to wanting kids to be here. Okay, so I'm going to give you one. Give me one round of butterflies. And then don't leave, because we're going to give you some tobacco and sage so that you can actually bless the land. Okay? So we need you to also bless and pray for this land. The trees and down. And so this is a story, it's called Star's Butterfly Story. Now, in our language, we didn't have a word for story, but it was to speak. Just to speak, ALPA, to speak. I think our people are the keepers of all the land. We have always protected the land, the sea, and the animals. Each of these gives us food, clothing, and homes. Our people have always taught the children to gather only what people need and never everything. Okay, so we need to make sure that it starts and begins to be carried forward again, because we have lost so much as people. One day a child named Star, Amuatas, was walking in the flowers. i-i. She saw that there were caterpillars on these flowers. i-i. She remembered that one day when she was with her mother, Atsia, they picked the little animals for food. She was happy that she would be a big girl, bringing home food, hamakshu. She gathered them in her basket and sang Ma-sxa-pa all the way home, Iwa. When she was back in the village, Iwano, she gave her mother her basket with these little animals. Star's mother looked and gave Star a big thank you. She asked Star, were these on the flowers, i-i, that we do not eat, ALPA? Star said, yes, ek. Star's mother said, Star, gather, root, the other children, Hana, we must talk. Star quickly ran around the village, calling all the children together. Come, come, iu, iu, iu. That's how we say come. Star said, Star's mother sat with all the children and said, these little animals lived on a flower that is not good to eat. Because of that, the little animals are not good to eat. We must take them back to the flowers, i-i. Star, Amuatas, was not happy that she did not know that these are not good for people to eat. Star's mother told her all was good because she will teach the other children about the flower and the caterpillar. Star, Amuatas, took her mother Atsia and the children, Hana, to the flowers, i-i, and together, pek-tin, they returned the little animals to flowers, i-i. Every day they returned to see these little animals. The children, Hana, saw that these little animals had covered themselves in small blankets. Then one day, everyone was very happy, hila, to see that the little animals had changed into beautiful lech-i butterflies, selakan. Star's mother said to the children, many generations of these beautiful lech-i butterflies, selakan, will return to our homeland, i-sxe-no. Our homeland, i-sxe-no, lives cha-a within them as it lives within us. We must teach to protect Tahawi, the earth, Ma-sxa, and all homeland life, la-ka-hu-lin. So it's the story of the monarch. The monarchs eat from a poisonous bush, a toxic that people cannot eat without. okay? And that's why Monarch, so we must teach the children what plant is good and what plant is not. What food is good and what is not when there is not. We must teach honor and respect of all creatures. And so that's where we need to go back. We need to go back to working together to protect the land, to protect the trees. And that's why you're here today, to protect the trees, to protect the animals, to protect the sky, the earth. We have recorded this place, this land, as a tribal cultural site. So that the cities, though they do it all the time, are not supposed to disturb this land without us knowing what's happening. So we all know that they came in and did this without us being here, without us making sure what was happening. And so we've asked for additional protection. We've asked that this land continue to be protected. And that's what is important when we register a site as a known cultural site, a known burial site. And so we have to make sure that we do that. Unfortunately, politicians and city people will try to get away with it with whatever they can. And that's what happened here. And luckily, I have friends here. and they call me up and I get to call the city and yell. And I love it. I love that they keep me informed, that they know what's happening within their homeland. I took the time to research the other day, which I don't have much time, the homes on around 1355 Lighthouse. We had nothing to say about the home next door. And I was reading an article, I don't know where the article came up, but these people built this house and they don't live in there. They only rent it. And they destroyed part of the sacred site. So we continue to try to protect that area. Keep up the calls. My phone number's on my card. Leave me a message. We'll do what we can. We can't do a lot. We don't have money. We don't have an oil. But we'll call and complain with you. So like I said, there's things here. I want to make sure that you all come by and get some sage and it's sage, mugwort, tobacco, and walk and pick an area that's calling you, because that's what we believe, that just calls you and says, come to me, pray here, and take a pinch and go to the tree. I guess I gotta go by a tree or, within the area and say your prayer. And so, you want to say something else?
I do.
Okay, he wants to say something else.
Elegant too. On behalf of the city, you do whatever you want. The Greater Monterey Bay Area. My name is Louise Miranda Ramirez. I am the tribal chairwoman of Ohlone Costa-no Nation. We are the indigenous people. I am the mother of Green Star.
my daughter, who died when she was 14 of leukemia. And so when she was dying, she asked me, who's going to make sure I'm never forgotten? That is my job. My job to bring to her, bring you to her to you, for you to know that she survived, and if I know, in my heart, and she lives there, and that if she was here, she would be here. We don't have music this year either because my grandson and son, they went up into Canada. There's the Western Alliance of Ocean Protectors, and we are fighting to protect the ocean because Baum and Noah want to put those giant windmills off for power into our area. They said, well, nobody will be able to see them because they're far away. They're within the, 3-mile protection, whatever that is. But these are big stuff. And they go down to the earth, to the ocean floor. And it was big, what do you want to say, platforms, they call them. And then these things are so big and they kill so many birds. So there's the western coast of tribal nations that are fighting, and they met with Canada this year. And so it's from all the states down the coast and all. So we continue to fight. Not much, but it's a little. Our voices are being heard, and that's what's important. And don't let anybody take your voice from you. Stand up and fight. Stand up and fight. Whatever you believe in. So here's my tobacco sage, mugwort, shells in there. I put this whatever you happen to get, pek-tin and go and bless the tree, bless the earth, say your prayers.
Small Storm Walker,
Just, how do you spell it?
just like it is.
Small
Yes,
Storm?
yeah.
Okay, awesome. And do you live here in PG?
No, we live in Los Angeles County.
Okay, so what brought you here today?
The Monarchs.
Yeah.
As you can tell, I kind of like butterflies.
Have you guys come to this blessing before?
This is our first time here.
And how'd you find out about it?
I saw something on Facebook.
What did you take away from this entire experience?
That more people need to be aware of planting the proper milkweed for butterflies in the Southern California area.
Definitely. I know California statewide has had a big problem with, the monarchs. Their population is readily declining. How does it make you feel to see that this
Oh, it
happen?
kills my heart. We've tried to plant milkweed in our area, but a lot of residencies and homeowner associations think of it as a weed, and they come right into your yard and pull it out. I got very mad.
Those are all the questions I had. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.